I'm Reverend Dave Thompson. Thank you for waiting for me. It's got some of the technical difficulties worked out. Anyway, I'm a civil human minister, and what that means is that I focus my ministry on building human peace and common ground. And in that effort, the whole way that I'm approaching the scriptures now is that I'm trying to do so as a human being, first of all. And that means that I want to look at these scriptures and define the things that we as humans can together apply across the board. And then the second thing is that I want to be civil. I want to respect those basic shared human needs that we have. You know, the need to believe what we want to about our own creed, to be independent from the control of others, to vote for those who will have control over us, to intimately love someone, and to live and let live. I'm so grateful to have you back again. Yesterday we were talking about a fishing parable, and then now we're going to be talking about what happened to Jesus in his hometown, because he's going to go back there. Let's go ahead and jump into the passage. It's Matthew chapter 13, verses 53 through 58. Now it came to pass, when Jesus had finished these parables, that he departed from there. And when he had come to his own country, he taught them in their synagogues, so that they were astonished and said, "Where did this man get this wisdom and these mighty works? Is he not the carpenter's son? Is not his mother called Mary, and his brothers James, Joseph, Simon, and Judas? And his sisters, are they not all with us? Where then did this man get all these things?" So they were offended at him. But Jesus said to them, "A prophet is not without honor, except in his own country and in his own house." And he did not do many mighty works there because of their unbelief. Today we're going to be talking a little bit about what it's like to change our life and what it means in our friendships and the people that we love, and how it's going to impact those around us. The first thing I want to do is talk a little bit about the passage to identify a couple of key words that really help us color and understand what is being said in this passage. So the first thing I do want to talk about is just this note that these individuals were really surprised or amazed. And this word really means like dumbfounded. That it actually literally means to be struck out of their senses. So it's this utter amazement at what had happened. And then they have this strange comparison that they throw alongside of it. But isn't this the carpenter? So this is the first time that we're actually introduced to the occupation of Jesus and his dad. So it's clear that Joseph was in fact a carpenter. So that's somebody who of course worked with building houses or other, structures that needed to be built. The next thing that I want to point out that may not be obvious, but there's this obstacle that comes in their way. They look at him, and they remember all that he had done before, right? He's a carpenter's son. They've got his brothers there. There's 4 of them. Did you know that Jesus had brothers? He did. He had brothers and sisters. It looks like as much as 6 of them. Sometimes we kind of forget that Jesus had a family and that he was, in fact, human, wholly human, and that he had the same strifes and the same bizarre family experiences that we all have. When the people saw this, it became this word scandalo, which is, how we get the word scandal. It became an offense to them. And what it means is this sort of snare or like an obstacle in the road, like a speed bump. It was something that got in the way of their ability to recognize Jesus as being important and being valuable. Even though he's doing all these miraculous things, even though he's doing all of these important works and teaching all these really important virtues and lessons, they don't seem to be able to get past the reality that Jesus used to be this kid who ran around with his dad. And so they don't give him any honor. And Jesus says that a prophet is not without honor except in his hometown. This word honor, it actually comes from the word price or to pay. It's this idea of somebody who has done something that demands a price or demands a respect. Because Jesus is teaching really important things and people are getting a lot of value out of what he's saying, generally speaking, people would honor or give respect to or treat them with gratitude and maybe with some appreciation. That's not happening here. In fact, Jesus is actually being sort of rebuked. He's being seen as somebody who's lesser, and these people have a real problem with the fact that he just used to be a regular human being. So it's hard for them to get past Jesus' new position. Now, I know you're wondering what in the world this has to do with us 2,000 years from remove. I'm going to get to that real quick. I do want to talk about just a couple little things. First, I just want to mention that Jesus leaves. He recognizes their disbelief and he decides to go. He does some work, but he doesn't do a lot of work. He, in fact, looks around and decides to go to another area. Sometimes that's all we can do. So how in the world does this have any impact to us here and now in this day and age, 2,000 years removed? Well, we are still carpenters. We are still carpet cleaners, entry-level workers, Uber drivers, jailbirds, any number of things that we want to claim about ourselves or about others. That is what we consider somehow less than, or not giving them the ability to be someone special. And the reality is I've been and am a lot of these things as well. But why does this matter? This is the most important part. Sometimes when we decide to do good, sometimes when we decide to change our lives, sometimes when we try to step out and to share a message that's different, when we uphold these virtues of peacemaking, of compassion, of humility and self-restraint, people don't like it. They don't like it. Especially our social groups. Sometimes they don't enjoy us as much. Because frankly, sometimes they just were enjoying the person we used to be. They didn't want to be around somebody who was all about peacemaking because maybe they wanted somebody who was going to fight alongside them. They didn't want somebody who was going to be humble because maybe they're all about feeling pride in themselves and their side is being more important. They didn't want somebody with compassion because they're hurt and they're upset and they're wanting to lash out. And so they're not wanting to show self-restraint. So when we step out in these moments, when we step out and kind of try to be somebody better, we should expect that people around us, our social circles, the people that we hang around may not in fact like us. But one of the things that I like about how Jesus approaches this whole thing, he just doesn't worry about it. He does what he can there, but then he goes on. He moves on. And I think that's one of the most important aspects of us today. We shouldn't waste our time with people who are going to only see us the way that we used to be, or people who are going to deride us or make fun of us because maybe we're a goody two-shoes or consider ourselves better than other people, or because we're wishy-washy and we lack a backbone because we're not fighting and we're not picking sides. When that's the case, I know that I've had to, a lot of times, leave some of those people behind. Sometimes it's important to find new family, to find new friends, to find people who are there for you, who are there to support you, who see you as being somebody who can be better, and who are trying to encourage you to be that. Those people exist out there. And it's really just a matter of whether we want to surround ourselves with people who will take away and diminish our efforts to better who we are, or those who will actually encourage us to strive to do better, regardless of our failings, regardless of our errors. And the other thing that I want to talk about before we close, let's flip the coin here. Let's look at the question of whether we are being encouraging to somebody else, or if we are diminishing them. There are times when I've had to realize that I'm not being a positive impact to somebody, that I'm not sharing peace, that I'm not giving them compassion, that I'm not restraining my anger and restraining my hurt. Sometimes we have to acknowledge our own decision and our own ability to be either constructive or diminish people. And so as we love our neighbors, as this chief golden rule that most of us have in all of our different faith expressions. We must work for peace. We must have compassion on them. We must restrain ourselves when we feel hurt or anger so that we can talk compassionately. And we must be humble to consider others as equal or even better than who we are. I want to thank you so much for being a part of this Bible study. Thank you for joining me today. If you have thoughts or reflections, I really would appreciate your comments below. They mean a whole lot to me. And as we are all attempting to be better than who we are, to take a step that's going to make us somehow better at either being a good person or at making other people find their love, to find their acceptance, to find their place and their family, we all need to be in it together, and we all need to love our neighbors that same way. And so, until next week, live at noon, I want to say to you that I love you, and I hope you choose to love yourself. It's the only love in this world that we have any control over. And now I welcome you to join me as we go about the rest of our day, loving our neighbors the same way. Thank you.